finds me on my way to Westlock, Alberta, which is located about, an hour and a half north of Edmonton, where I live. I'm on my way there to see a tractor museum I've heard about. As a lifelong city slicker, what I know about tractors and agriculture in general could be written on the back of a postage stamp with lots of room to spare. And I've never been to this museum, so I don't know what to expect. So come along and let's have a look at this museum. Well, here I am at the Westlock Tractor Museum. The first thing I noticed when I arrived at the museum was a large weather vane with a full-size tractor at the very top that I thought was cool. Let's start our visit inside the museum. After paying $12 for admission to the museum, I entered the main display area. I don't know what I was expecting, but boy, the museum must have cornered the market on old tractors. Apparently, the Canadian Tractor Museum owns over 100 tractors, most of them fully restored and on display in the main area. With this many tractors on display, I'm only going to discuss the ones that caught my eye. So let's begin with this one, a 1919 steam traction engine built by Case in Rancid, Wisconsin. In its 106-year life, this tractor has had various owners and performed various roles in farming and with sawmills in both Alberta and British Columbia before being restored and donated to the museum. One thing I've always found fascinating is the care that manufacturers in the past paid to their products, including the manufacturer's label attached to the back of this steam tractor, which would look good on someone's wall as a work of art. Another logo I really liked was this one on a 1924 Waterloo Boy tractor built to run on kerosene. This is kind of interesting. These two tractors are connected to one another so that they can be operated by just one driver. There were tractors on display from various manufacturers, including ones I even heard of, like Case, John Deere, Massey Harris, and McCormick. Even though I'm sure my rural viewers would recognize them, there were some manufacturers' names I'd never heard of, like Minneapolis Moline and Coxhut. Here's an unusual tractor with very high clearance that, according to the placard, was built in 1953 as part of a special order for a U.S. sugar company to go on top of sugar cane while cultivating to kill weeds. Only 26 were made, less than 10 still exist, and this one is the only one in Canada. There were some crawler tractors on display as well, like this John Deere and this Caterpillar. There were a couple of nice trucks to see as well in the museum, like this 1918 International Model F and this 1928 white truck, both of which were beautifully restored. As well as the tractors, there were items that caught my attention as well in the museum. In a stairwell up to the second level was this model of an Alberta Heritage Fund grain car telling you to take an Alberta break in Barrhead, Westlock. That was built as a shortened version of the grain cars supplied to the Canadian railways by the Alberta government to aid in the transportation of grain in the late 1980s and early 90s. Here's a unique drill press that caught my interest. Instead of having a motor to run the drill, has a little handle that you turn to rotate the bit, and so you've got to lower it with one hand, run it with the other, and hope whatever you're drilling doesn't scooter off in the meantime. Here's a dangerous bit of kit. A generator to produce acetylene gas on the farm using rice carbide. If you didn't follow instructions exactly, well... In the museum's lobby was a very nicely done model railway. Let's leave the main building and see what's on display in the museum's yard. There was an old schoolhouse from the Vermilion School District that was locked up, so I could not go in to see the inside. And the stationary engine building. That had a beautifully restored RCO Speedwagon truck. And this weird looking tractor, a small market garden tractor built in 1952 by Alice Chalmer. It kind of reminded me of a skeleton, as it didn't have a normal body over the frame. It was getting overcast and the wind was blowing the weather vane, so the time had come to wrap up my visit to the Canadian Tractor Museum and head back to Edmonton. I really enjoyed my visit and would highly recommend you visit this museum if you are ever in the Westlock area. Till next time, everyone keep safe and well.